Hi, everybody. I am Kevin Ioli with Yahoo Sports. I appreciate you joining me. And if you watched the fight on Showtime on Saturday, you absolutely saw my next guest. One of my favorite guys, not only to watch fight, but to interview, because always a great guy. Shawn Porter, the former world champion. But Shawn, I got a bone to pick with you. You're wearing that. That looks like Cleveland Browns orange on your head. What the heck is that?
I'll tell you what, man. I'm a very very big football fan, and I think along with that comes me supporting my Cleveland Browns. I'm from Cleveland, and no matter how much they lose, I can't forget about them. I always look forward to watching them play on Sundays, and no matter how many championships the Cleveland Cavs win, I'm still probably going to be a bigger Browns fan. So,
Yeah, the NFL
uh,
is king. I grew up in Pittsburgh, so I'm a fan of everything in Pittsburgh. But I tell you, I grew up when the Steelers were winning all those Super Bowls. We won 4 Super Bowls in 6 years, and it was incredible. And the team I always hated the most was the Browns. So now
no,
I'm
yeah,
holding gray, and it's still there.
and they haven't really been in your way much, especially in the last few years. But it's just something about it. If you're a Browns fan, you gotta hate the Steelers, and if you're a Steelers fan, you gotta hate the Browns. So, along with saying that, I saw the two Steelers little uh things behind you, and I said, you know what, I don't want to do this interview. So, good thing. Good thing is we're friends.
Wayne, we
So
both live in Las Vegas, so we can put that behind us, and we can talk boxing. I,
exactly.
So, anybody who knows you knows not only are you one of the best fighters in the world, but you're a really genuinely nice guy. But Saturday night, you looked like you were a little bit irritated, and Jim Gray even had to boot you out of the ring, which
I
I haven't seen too often. What happened on Saturday? You went in to talk to Danny Garcia after his win. It seemed like you kind of lost it.
You know what? I'm still afraid to text Jim since that happened. Jim and I have been friends for a very long time, and we've never come across each other that in that fashion. So I'm scared. I'm still scared to text Jim and just let him know my apologies for kind of interfering in the night. But I just wanted to get a point across to Danny Garcia that the easy days are over. Now it's a matter of him if he wants to continue to call himself a champion and continue to try to call himself a great fighter. He's got to fight me. He's got to fight Keith Thurman. He's got to fight Errol Spence. The four biggest names in boxing. We all have to fight each other, and I'm the next one in line. And I just really wanted to get in the ring and let him know that. I'll be honest. I wasn't mad that night. I wasn't frustrated or anything. It just I tried to get my point across, and I felt that was the best way to do
You kind of did it the way you fight. You got right in his face, and there was no subtlety about what was going
it.
on. It was
Yeah.
like, hey, I want this. And you also did with Keith Thurman. You of course fought a great fight with Keith Thurman. Some people thought it was the fight of the year in 2016. It was a fight that got widespread exposure. For people who stayed with the Showtime broadcast, they showed you a little later jawing with Keith. Keith has been coming off an elbow injury. I had him on here for an interview that I put on Yahoo Sports and on my YouTube channel, and a lot of people were criticizing him because they're saying he's trying to go too slow coming back. Do you understand what he's going, or do you think, hey, when you're healthy enough to fight, you should be healthy enough to fight anybody?
I'm gonna be honest with you. It's a double-edged sword for me. Coming off of my last fight, I injured my hand just a little bit. It's much better now, and I have a decision to make. Do I get in the ring with someone who's lesser competition, possibly risk making less money, possibly risk tarnishing my career and my reputation for being a hard-nosed fighter that gets in the ring with anyone. You risk a lot by getting in the ring with someone who isn't of your caliber.
Right.
And on top of that, you risk the you have the risk of not having the exposure that you could have. So on one hand, him and I both, we have a decision to make. Do we get in the ring with lesser competition and not do everything that we can be to do it, how we consider ourselves to be champions? Do we do everything that it takes to still consider ourselves to be champions? Or do we get in the ring with, a former world champion and not know if everything is 100% and risk, possibly losing or possibly having a hard night. So, my decision, I've already made my decision. I'm going to get in the ring with the best no matter what. I'm gonna fight no matter what, and I'm gonna give it my all, and rely on God, rely on my abilities, and let the outcome be what it's gonna be. I think that Keith Thurman needs to stop babying his shoulder and his elbow, and step up to the plate and answer the bell. It's time for him to answer the bell to me. I'm a mandatory to fight him. Also, Errol Spence is out there to fight him, and he's also got a mandatory for the WBA. I think he's doing the best he can to hold on to those belts without doing the best that he's supposed to do, which is fight.
The PBC has the corner on the market when it comes to the welterweights. They've got Usain Thurman, Errol Spence. I believe Jesse Vargas is now with the PBC. So Danny, of course. So all those guys. The one guy that's out of the mix that I think should be in that mix with you great fighters is Terrence Crawford. Would you entertain a match with Terrence if he gets past Jeff Horn in his next fight and wins the WBO belt? Would that be something that you would entertain?
You know what? I agree 100% that Terrence Crawford, even though he's never had a fight at welterweight, definitely deserves to be among the names mentioned at the top of the division. I think that everything he's done up until this point has proved that he deserves that. And I think the one thing you can kind of pick out that will solidify him being at the top of the division, even though he hasn't fought yet at welterweight division, is his consistency. You've seen it at 35, and you saw it at 140. He's consistently beat everyone hands down, knocked him out, outclassed everyone. So I think he definitely deserves to be in the conversation among the top welterweights in the division. Right now, I have goals that I set, 3 years ago that I want to accomplish. Right now, Terrence Crawford is not one of those goals. Actually, right now, Errol Spence isn't one of those goals.
Really,
Errol
huh?
Spence is a goal, but he's not an immediate goal. Right now, immediate for me is Danny Garcia and Keith Thurman. So after I take care of those goals, then we'll look to seek and destroy the other ones.
Well, let's say that Al Heyman and Steven Espinoza got together and they agreed, hey, we'll make a fight, and they gave you the option, Sean. You can take Keith Thurman first and fight for his titles, or you can fight Danny Garcia, who right now doesn't have the title, having lost to Keith Thurman. Which way would you want to go?
Honestly, it doesn't matter to me. I would say, it doesn't matter to me. I can say Keith Thurman because that's a loss that I would love to avenge. He's got a belt that I would love to get. Or I could say Danny Garcia. We've never fought before. The fans have never seen that great. You saw great Keith Thurman versus great Shawn Porter, but you haven't seen great Danny Garcia versus great Shawn Porter. So I would love to have that fight as well. If I had to choose tomorrow which one I would fight, it would probably be Keith Thurman because he's got more. There's more on the line against Keith Thurman.
If anybody who follows me knows how much of a fan of Errol Spence I am. I think he might be the best fighter in the world right now, pound for pound. I think he's a terrific young guy. But you've been in the ring with Keith, and for people who don't know, you've been in the ring pretty much with everybody. I remember being, I think it was Houston at the Olympic trials. Is that where the Olympic trials were in '08?
Wow, yeah, you were there?
And you fought Danny Jacobs and
Yeah. I mean,
at
for
one, what was it, middleweight, right? You fought him at middleweight.
165.
Yeah, I mean, so that
Yeah.
I always thought, is Shawn Porter going to make it in the pros because he's 5'7" middleweight, and I thought, yeah, he's pretty tough. Dwight Muhammad Kali made it as a cruiserweight at that height.
Yeah.
But I remember, you fought way back to the amateurs, everybody.
Yeah.
So you have a good sense. You've been in with Thurman. You look at Spence. How do you evaluate them? Do you think one has an edge over the other?
Uh, uh, Are you asking me which one is better, or are you asking me who wins that fight?
Well, both. Let's start with who is the better fighter in your opinion between Keith Thurman and Earl Spence.
Right now, I say Keith Thurman. Right now, I say Keith Thurman.
What does he do that it makes you say that?
I think that he has a way of getting fighters to fight his fight. I think that Errol Spence does the same, but I think Keith Thurman is more he's more tactical at doing that. Keith Thurman is that guy that's going to get in the ring with you, and no matter how much you tell him to come, no matter how much you go at him, he's going to do what he wants to do, and he's going to try to get you to do that. I think I did a very good job at not
Right.
fighting his fight and trying to fight my own fight. I think Errol Spence does have that same ability to kind of be aggressive and use his jab and kind of make you throw the punches that he wants you to throw. I just have a feeling right now that Keith Thurman is a little bit better at doing that than Errol Spence, which could be the difference maker in that fight because Keith Thurman is also a little more unorthodox than Errol Spence. Then Errol Spence has that southpaw style, but he's very technically sound, which makes him a really good boxer. But against someone who is a little more unorthodox, and Keith Thurman making all these unpredictable moves and throwing unpredictable punches at points in the fight, makes it very hard for anyone getting in the ring with him.
I want to ask you about your style because you talked about Keith's unpredictable style. Your style is not a classic style like a boxer. It just moves. Your footwork is different, but you're the classic pressure fighter. Is that there are subtleties to that, of course, that maybe lay people don't appreciate. Do you have to work on your feet a lot, to be able to, because I would imagine when you get in there, creating punching position is sometimes difficult. So does that require you to work a lot on your footwork to be able to get yourself into punching position?
You know what? One thing I think people don't know about boxing is the coordination that's required in boxing. So if you watch me fight and you maybe slow down a round or two, you'll see that my head and my hands and my feet, they kind of all work together. And so yeah, most times throughout a camp, I'm working on my feet just as much as I'm working on, the actual punches that I'm throwing, and then also the defense as well. So it kind of goes hand in hand, but there's just a tremendous amount of coordination that comes along with doing what I do, which is probably another reason why you don't see very many other fighters out there doing it, because they haven't trained to do
Right.
what I do, which is you don't really see the style. I think one reason why I'm as aggressive as I have become as a professional is because I think I kind of started to notice the kind of problems guys have with it. I think moving forward, every fight I say I want to be a little less aggressive, but be a lot more intelligent with my aggression. So I think you take a look at my last fight with Adrian Granados. I came forward a lot more in that fight, but I also used my feet a lot more
Right.
and used the
The
ring
angles were really
a
good.
lot more. Yeah, threw tremendous jabs, hit him from the outside a lot more than you've seen me do in the past. So we definitely train fight specific. Depending on who we're getting in the ring with, you may see me box a little more. You may see me be a little bit more aggressive. I think a fight with Danny Garcia, you'll see me definitely using my feet a lot more. I don't think he has good foot movement. You definitely see me using a lot more speed and boxing from the outside, because I don't think he can keep up with my speed from the outside. And then also you'll see me using a lot of pressure, because I don't think he can keep up with my pressure. So I
And he
just think
needs
that,
distance to throw those punches.
yeah, he needs distance to throw his punches. I think he's been exposed in a lot of ways in his last 3 to 4 fights. And what I mean by being exposed is I've learned something different in each of his last 3 or 4 fights that I think I can use to beat him.
my the I'm a lot older than you, and I think I'm older than your dad. So I've been around a long time, and I've watched fights since I was a kid. And the first fight that I ever went to was a pretty fair welterweight you may have heard of named Sugar Ray Robinson. It was his last fight, and I was like 6 years old, and
Wow.
it was his final fight, and my dad took me to the fight. And so I've watched boxing all of those years. And the thing that I've always thought is distance. If anything else, the fighter who can control distance is usually the guy who wins. And with fighting your style, do you find yourself sometimes that that you have to be careful that you don't overextend and get in where now you're smothered and you can't throw your punches, where maybe you got the right angle but you're smothered and you can't get your punch off?
100%. And have you ever trained or anything? You just been a avid boxing fan.
I watched. I've hit mitts a few times, but not. I don't train too much. I'm too chicken.
I mean, honestly, man, that's a quick education moment for you. You're exactly right. A big part of boxing is judging your range and your distance. Who's ever able to judge the range and distance of their opponent and hit them and not get hit, that's the name of the game, hit and not get hit. So to answer your question, yes, that's something that my dad presses upon me every camp. for the last, I've been pro almost 10 years now. He's probably impressed that upon me for the last 10 years, that along with my aggression, I need to be aware of my range and my distance, and have better range and judge of my range and my distance. And when you're able to capture that, you're able to conquer any opponent, because you one up them. You know when you can punch, you know when you need to use your defense,
Right.
and so on and so forth. To me, the greatest boxer in terms of being able to judge range and distance and win and be successful is Floyd Mayweather.
Mm-hmm.
If you slow down any fight of his, you'll see the way he uses his defense to get a fighter out of position, and then he's able to hit that opponent and then immediately make that opponent miss. That's all about him understanding his range and his distance, and he's been able to do it. I don't know what his record was up until he retired, but all the way up until he retired, he was able to do that. There was only a few guys he fought that he wasn't able to, I guess, dominate them from
Right.
that range and that distance from that standpoint of a fight. But even still, he was able to figure it out and
Yeah,
beat
look at
those
what he
guys.
did to Diego Corrales. You think about it, right?
Yeah,
Corrales.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, Diego Corrales was the number one fight that I had in my mind, where he wasn't able to use that range and that distance effectively for 12 rounds, hands down, but he was able to use it enough to beat Diego Corrales.
And dropped them 5 times. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to ask you this. You're 28, 2-1 with 17 knockouts. You lost to Keith Thurman. Of course, the one we didn't talk about is where you lost your title to Kell Brook. Is that one you want to run back? I mean, Brooks lost a couple fights now. He's kind of battle worn. He give him a lot of credit. He went up to fight Gennady Golovkin at middleweight and took on that challenge. But he's really gotten kind of pummeled his last couple of fights. I don't know how much he had left, but I know you lost your title in a fight that you felt like you maybe should have won or could have won. Do you have an itch to get him back in the ring to avenge that?
That one, that's a funny one. I had an itch for a very long time to get back in the ring with Kell Brook. I was being told along the way, I lost the title to him in 2014, I believe. Yes, 2014. So between 2014 and 2016, I had a very big itch to fight him again, and was kind of repeatedly told to me that we may not get the fight with Kell Brook. What else do you want? And as you can see, my career kind of
Right.
continued to move forward. And I think after being told that so many times, I kind of let it go. And before I knew it, he was in a couple of wars, and now recently in a really, really tough war with Errol Spence and losing the belt. I think after that fight with Errol Spence, it clarified it for me. It solidified that I wouldn't be getting back in the ring with him. I'm not looking to get back in the ring and avenge that loss. I think a year ago it would have still mattered, but after losing to Errol Spence, I don't think it matters to me anymore.
Okay, and let's wrap on this. Obviously, we'd like to see him with either Garcia or Thurman. Since Thurman has been on the record basically saying he's not going to do it, so I guess we'll root to see you fight Garcia next. I want to ask you though. I have a sense. I haven't seen all of your professional fights, but I've seen quite a few of them. And I have a feeling what I think is your best performance as a pro, and in my opinion, it was the win over Andre Berto. I just was curious what you think. If you felt what you felt like your best performance was.
Along the way, I've had a lot of great, tremendous moments in boxing. Really, the two that would stick out for me is first Adrian Bronner. My dad came up with an excellent game plan for that fight. We wanted to box him from the outside and kind of work our way to the inside, and I think we were able to outbox him from the outside and use, speed was better than his, and also the quickness and the defense. Obviously, we had the hiccup in the last
Right.
round, getting knocked down, but the thing about that fight is for 11 rounds, I remain consistent and I remain focused,
I was there
which is
that
why
night.
I think that. Yeah, which is why I think that fight was one of my better fights that I've had. It's not always what you do to someone physically, for me at least, that determines whether or not you perform at optimum level. For me, sometimes it is, how much I had to dig into my heart and go after it, and for that fight with Adrian Bronner, how much I had to use my mentality and my mental fortitude to capture that victory against him. Again, I lost focus in going into the 12th round, but 12 rounds of doing the same thing to somebody,
It's
I
tough.
guess in that moment I kind of lost it. But all the way up until that 12th round, and then even getting knocked down brought me right back into that focus and that mental state that I needed to be in. And then the other fight being Keith Thurman, a fight that I had to really dig down deep, got hit with some punches throughout that fight, and also landed some punches throughout that fight, and just tried to take it to him. That fight physically, and then having to dig into my heart and pull it all out. That is one of my more uh, better performances, I believe.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Shawn. We look forward to seeing you fight. And I don't know what it is about great fighters, but you and UFC heavyweight champion Stipe Miocic, both for some reason, Cleveland Browns fans.
Yes,
Everything is
sir.
good about you except for that. If we could change that, you'd be
No,
perfect.
no, no. That is a testament to my character. Uh, uh, I think a lot of people aren't aware of the history of the Browns. If you're aware of the history of the Browns, which
I
I
know
am,
full well.
yeah, they were once great, a great team, and everything that I'm about is what they are, what our past is about. I'm about being the greatest. I'm about um fighting hard and doing everything that it takes to be successful. And I think even though as of late they haven't been successful, there's still this gritty spirit that lies within the organization and within the team that I possess, and that I'm hoping through each one of my fights, those guys see it, and
Get
they start to
motivated.
capture, yeah, they start to capture that greatness that was once there in Cleveland. And before my son here, who's only I think 25 days old now, before he's
Well,
a year or two old,
congrats.
hopefully they're back moving into the spotlight of greatness.
Yeah, he'll enjoy that. Well, hey, I
Yeah,
really appreciate it. You're one of boxing's really good guys and one of the best fighters in the world. And Shawn, thank you so much for the time.
you got it. God